The American Public School Experience.
For nearly 82% of American students, public school is where we spend some of our earliest and most formative years.
So school is a place where students come and they actually develop not just academic skills, it's also a place that plays a valuable role in helping kids develop social skills and lifelong skills.
In addition, for many students in low-income areas, school is a safe space, an escape from the violence in many neighborhoods, and a chance to better themselves.
Talk about the school-to-prison pipeline, and that is a very real thing. Especially, I'm from Ohio, growing up in Columbus, I saw it, I lived it.
So, if schools are such a pivotal part of growth and development, why are so many schools left to fend for themselves?
A Forbes report found that only 12 states allocated district funds to additionally assist schools with students living in poverty. And only 5 of those states were actually reported to fund education at a level that really gives students what they need. When many students across the country are forced to attend schools with crumbling infrastructure, out-of-date resources, a lack of mental health and counseling services, and more, entire generations are being put at risk.
Education policy is one of the most important issues facing our country right now, and to find out how this came to be and what we can do about it, let's dive deep into our public education system, its history, its impacts, and what we can do to make sure that now and for 20 years into the future, students are being set up for success. So, where does school funding even come from? Well, the best answer is, it depends.
Let's say you attend school in the suburbs of New York and live in a town with an average household income of around $170,000 per year. A large part of that income will go to state and local taxes, which contribute 47% and 45% to local school funding respectively. A district with similar demographics to this one is Great Neck, New York. New York's average K-12 spending as a percentage of taxpayer income was around 4.65% in 2022. This allowed Great Neck and New York State as a whole to spend more on pupils than any other state in the country, with an average of $22,366 spent per student per year.
This extensive funding has allowed New York to implement programs that have increased graduation rates, created over 126,000 public pre-K programs, and expanded access to after-school extracurricular and support programs. Now, let's contrast this with a state like Florida, whose K-12 spending is only about 2.5% of taxpayers' income. This leaves only about $9,000 per student. Because of this, many students receive supplementary Title I funding, or extra financial assistance to districts with many low-income families.
However, many studies have shown that Title I funding is insufficient, and that states with lower per-pupil spending consistently underperform.
Many teachers like Danielle Gaspard, a math and science teacher in Broward County, Florida, have to go the extra mile to try and get students up to par.
I experienced working at a Catholic school. I didn't have to worry about, for example, buying snack. I have always have to have like a bag of pretzel. If the parents work nights and then they have to drop off their kids, sometimes they drop off them late. So therefore they come in my classroom hungry. Like working in a Catholic school or even in a charter school, did not have to worry about that.
Redlining refers to the systematic denial of various services, including loans, to residents of specific, often racially determined neighborhoods. As a result, Black and brown families were often confined to areas with limited resources and opportunities.
These communities' lack of access to quality housing and financial resources directly affect the local tax base. Since many school districts rely heavily on property taxes for funding, the result is a perpetuation of educational inequality. Students in underfunded schools often face challenges such as outdated textbooks, limited access to technology, insufficient support systems, and more.
There is the clear perpetuation of a cycle wherein the privileged few continue to access the most coveted educational avenues. At the same time, those from economically disadvantaged backgrounds find their path to success obstructed. However, some people have varying views on how to ensure students get a quality education. Some people, like Walter Banks featured earlier, advocate for school choice, a process in which families can take tax dollars that would be put into public schools and use those to pay for either charter or private schools.
While some of my friends were going to sleep to lullabies, I was going to sleep to gunshots. My education allowed me to get out of that situation and opened me up to so much more than what I could even understand at that time.
Although school choice policies have had some positive outcomes for students like Walter Banks, private and charter schools, the type of institutions that get paid for by proposed and implemented school choice policies, have historically refused ESL students or students with disabilities. So over the next 20 years, how can we utilize funding better to maximize every child's potential? Let's start with the root of the problem, housing.
Thank you for holding this important hearing on exclusionary zoning.
This is Richard D. Cullenberg, who is an education and housing policy researcher, writer, consultant, and speaker.
In my written testimony, I discussed a number of possible reforms, including the committee's Unlocking Possibilities program.
The Unlocking Possibilities program provides funds for expanding housing choices for people with low or moderate incomes. It would establish a $1.75 billion competitive grant program to help states and localities eliminate barriers to affordable housing production. So, after implementing housing policies to try and level the playing field on a funding level, what can policymakers do to level the playing field within the school?
If you're talking about academic success, a lot of it has to do with the quality of teachers that school districts are able to recruit and hold on to. Some states, such as North Carolina, actually have minimum salary schedules, like a state salary schedule, which can help hire teachers. And when state money then can go into that, it can be helpful for hiring and retaining quality teachers.
We need to make sure we have highly qualified teachers in every classroom. We have programs for students after school, in the summer. We know what to do. We just have to make sure we have the urgency across the country to get it done.
Making these changes, such as retaining better teachers to ensure higher quality teaching, is crucial to ensure a better life for everyone, as education is where children find their passions and their careers. Our kids are our future, so let's invest in them.